A very good afternoon, students. So, from today, we are going to start a new chapter known as planning, which is chapter number 4. So, in this chapter, we will going to learn about the meaning and concept of planning, then its features, its importance, then its limitation, its steps, the process of planning, and the different types of plans that the business uses in their organization. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. So, as of all, we know that planning means something that we uh, try to get a blueprint in advance. Okay, so in simple sense, it is deciding in advance what to do and how to do, who will do it, how much time it will require to get the project done, and what are the methods and what are the various tools and techniques that are to be used to get the planning successful. So whenever an idea comes into our mind, so the next step comes that how to implement the idea, and for that we need a proper planning. Okay, so this proper planning doesn't come all of a sudden. For that, the company or the top level management or the middle level or the lower level or the respective departmental managers, they have to go on the with the rigorous calculations or the inspections or the various trials and error method or with various other experimentation, so that they can just get a proper plan for a proper work, because every plan will not work for the every task, isn't it? So a particular task needs a particular plan, and for that the managers have to formulate an idea of how to work for a particular task. Okay, so the planning is closely connected with the creativity and innovation, because as much creative or as much innovative and manager is, and he is going on with the proper experimentation with a proper intellectual idea, the manager will be successful with the proper plan as an of it comes into his head. Okay, now see, but the managers first have to set up an objectives, because without an objective no one can get the proper plan done. Okay, so the proper objective should be there, so that as per the objective, then only the manager will get to know that what to be done. Okay, and hence the planning acts as a bridge between the setting up of the objective till the achievement of the objective, and within this all other functions of management are following the planning. Okay, so planning involves the setting up of the objective, and then the various process like the proper work to be done, how and where, and these are all included in the planning, so that ultimately the appropriate course of action should be given to achieve those objectives that has been set up by the department wise or by the top management, because we know that management, once they set up the goals and the policy procedure objectives of the organization as a whole. Okay, so it is a broader sense, and then the managers of the middle level managements, so they get the proper goals and the objectives and the strategies from their boss, and then they implement it in their own way for their respective departments. Okay, so the finance department, they will have a different plan, then the marketing department, the R&D department, they will have the different plan, then the your production department, so it differs from each other, and hence the whole organization, though they are planning in the different way, but still they are just putting up a concentration that they need to put their organization in the field of growth. Okay, so are you all clear till this? What is planning? As simple as that, planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do. It is a blueprint, and everyone in our life we go on planning the whole our day or the whole month, whole year, whole our career, academic, etc., etc. Everything we go on planning our choices, isn't it? Now let's come up with the importance of planning. So before going to importance of planning, we will just know more about the planning with their characteristics, okay, or features we say. Now see this planning, suppose in an example that one project is there for a organization where they have to prepare 1000 units for their foreign company, okay, foreign project. So for that they have to put on the more and more staffs because there may be insufficiency of staff, so they have to go for staffing also. So these are the managerial functions that includes and that are interdependent with each other, because for the particular planning they need more staffing, then only they can go for organizing, okay. So let's start with some of the features, and the main feature of the plan is that to get the work done, okay. So if the planning is proper successful one, then only the organization can go with the proper profit and the other objectives such as your social, your organizational, your personnel, etc. So these are all dependent upon the primary function of the management, that is planning. So let's start. So the features are there, some of them are, see the point number 1. Just wait, let me maximize it. So see the point number 1, we can see that planning focuses on achieving objectives, obviously. So after the objectives has been say after the objectives has been set up by the top departments or the specific some of the specific goals, so thus planning starts from there, that how to achieve that goals to the utmost and the optimum utilization of the resources, okay. So by optimum utilization of the resources only, the planning can be properly contributed in the achievement of this predetermined organizational goal, okay. Now let's come up to the point number 2. Planning is a primary function of management. As we all know that there are 5 functions of management, and point number 1 is your planning, obviously. Then comes your organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So planning is known as the primary function of the management. Why? Because after setting up of the objective, then only the very first thing comes into our mind to achieve the goals is known as the planning. So for that planning, the organization have to manage all other resources and they have to work upon it. So as they are working upon it, so it is known as the planning is the primary function of the management, okay. So planning, after the planning starts, then only the other functions moves on. So after the planning only, the other functions starts with their importance, okay. So it is known as the primary function of the management. Now comes the third point. The planning is pervasive. So the planning pervasive, as we all know that. So the next point is point number 3. Planning is pervasive. So the pervasive, as we all know that pervasive means that is been required in all levels of management. It may be the top management, if it may be the middle level management, or it may be the lower level management. So each and every departments of each and every levels of management, they require planning, because every small group or the unit, they also go with a proper plan so that they can accompany or they can contribute to the other departments as well. And you please note it down one thing, that every department and the every management, they are interrelated with each other, okay. Now see, for example, just a minute. For example, the scope of planning differs from each of the departments, from each of the levels of management. Okay, see your suppose under the finance department there are 3 or 4 departments, sub departments. Okay, so let it be your journal maintaining, or your balance sheet maintaining, your trial balance maintaining, or the other accounts maintaining. So they are, or some maybe your cash flow maintaining, or they are disbursing department. So there are 3 to 4 other department sub departments also, which have the different planning of their own. And ultimately the main motto is to get united and to work in a proper coordination. Okay, so there has been given one example that the top management undertakes planning for the organization as a whole. The middle level management does the departmental planning as per their department. They will go on with their proper planning, and the lowest department, they will just plan with their day to day activities, that how the machine is working or not, then what are the requirement, what are the repairment need to get the machines, or what are the resources they need in the daily basis, etc. Okay, now comes your point number 4. Planning is continuous. Now see, this planning is continuous. It comes here. Planning is prepared for a specific period of time over and over again and again, with the different projects, with the different your objectives, there will be the different planning. And hence after the achievement of the goal, of a certain goal, may be it for a specific period of time, maybe it for a month or a quarter or a year, and at the end of the period the objectives, if and thus after the completion of one objective, whenever the other objective will start, or the other project will get started, then the other plan will also lead that project. Okay, so it is a continuous process, and in the regular basis one has to go on with the proper planning. Because see, no one can start the objective with without planning. So with a proper planning they can just lead their proper work. Okay, so at the end of that period there is a need of a new plan, that to be drawn for the new requirement, new objectives, or the new goals, new projects, etc. So there is a proper continuity where the planning cycles goes on and on and on, and as the proper plan is framed, it is being implemented, and hence the another plan will follow that plan. And do you know one thing, that there are sub plans under a particular plan, plan A, plan B, or there are some optional plan also, that if plan A will fail, plan B will come and take up its place, or if the plan B fails, then they will go on with the plan C. So these all things go on just in a cycle. Okay, so hence planning is continuous. No one can just stop planning after they has been achieved with the objective. New objective will come with a new planning. Then comes your planning is futuristic. Obviously whenever we are going to plan, we are going to plan for a future. We cannot plan for a past or for a present. Obviously we will think that what will be done. That will itself tells that it's a futuristic. Okay, so it is the planning is regarded as forward looking, though for through forecasting future events and conditions are anticipated, and hence the planning are drawn accordingly. For example, one example has been given over here. See, sales forecasting is the basis on which a business firm prepares its annual plan for production and sales. Now comes your the next point as point number 6. Planning involves decision making. Planning essentially involves in the decision making. Obviously see now, if there is a proper plan, then only they can come up into a proper conclusion, proper decision. So coming up into a proper decision or a Just a minute, let me get a proper view. Okay, so see, this planning essentially, so they are included to get a proper decision, because out of the various other methods or out of the various other plans, only one plan is to be selected from the rest, and hence based on the plan they have to take the proper decision that what is actually to be done. Okay, because planning itself is a process where a rigorous examination, then your experimentation, then your preparing of the budget, or various trials and error method goes on and on, and after passing all the things, then only a proper plan comes up into a action. And this taking up of a proper plan for the proper action is known as the decision making. That, yeah, out of the plan 3 or 4 plan, we are just going to implement the point 2 or the point, sorry, the plan 2 or the plan 3. Okay, so this is known as the planning as a decision making. Now the next point is, see, planning is a mental exercise, because it doesn't include all other physical exercise. It is only based on the mental process. So with this mental process only, a manager or the planning team, they will go on knowing the whole situation, and then only they can just make a proper judgment that are actually required for that organization, and which will be logical and systematic. Okay, so if I am planning to go to moon, will it be possible? No, it will not be possible, because I am not related with those activities which will help me in going to moon. So there should be a proper logic and a proper exercise of the mental, sorry, so there should be a proper logic and mental exercise with which they can just make a proper systematic thinking, that after this or that, a proper scientific way to get the planning successful. So it is a mental activity where the more and more intellectual activity is being included, the more and more innovative or creative the manager is or the planner is, then only they can lead to a successful planning. Okay, is it clear till now? Please do let me know if you don't understand anything. Okay, now let's come up with the importance of planning. So we have completely known about the planning, isn't it? Now let's come, what is the importance of planning? So planning, see, if let me give you an example of a day-to-day life. So before a day starts, if we are not planned properly, there may be a hodgepodge there. After our college, we are to go to tuition. So if our friend is calling us for a movie, so it is hard to decide that whether we are to go for a movie or a hangout or the tuition center. And after tuition, then what? Then, or after a movie, then what? So if there is insufficiency of planning or a poor planning, then only our whole day will go into a vain. Okay, so let's start with a proper planning, the importance of planning exactly. So the first point is, planning provides direction. Yeah, that's a quite serious point, because without proper planning we just don't get the proper directions, that which way to choose, why to choose. Because see, if we are to go to movie with our friend, so that we should put a priority over tuition, because the friend may leave the very next day, okay, to her dwelling place or his dwelling place. So this is the last day stay here, so we are giving just priority to our friend that we need to go to movie. So we will just collect our tuition work after that. Okay, so this is what we got the directions with the proper planning. Okay, so this proper planning, they will let us know about the advanced work that how to do, and the proper direction that with the proper method and the program that how to do, so that they can get the proper action. Okay, so if the goals are well defined, if the goals are logically correct, then only they can work up with a proper planning, and this proper planning, they will help us in moving up with a proper direction that how to work. Okay, now see this your department and individuals, they will work up as per the planning, and if there is no planning, the whole objective will go in vain. Now let's come up with a planning reduces the risk. Okay, planning reduces the risk of uncertainty. So every business, as we know that there is a uncertainty or the dynamic environment they are working upon, so planning just reduces the risk of uncertainty. They just cannot eliminate it, or they just cannot remove it, just they can help the whole organization or the manager to reduce it or to anticipate it, because they know that these are the consequences they may have to face, and so that they can accept it and work up accordingly. Okay, so the changes that cannot be eliminated totally but can be developed, or they can just use the optional plans, or they can adapt it with a certain changes in the organization, or certain changes in their working process and all, so they can just reduce the risk of uncertainties. Now see the next point, planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. See, so if so see one thing, have you ever noticed that your timetable or the routine of the college itself is a planning, isn't it? So the first period will be English, second period will be accounts, third period will be B.st. So these are the proper planning that going on and on and on. So if there would have been no planning, no routine at all, then what would have been the consequences? The consequences would have been like this, that the teachers would have been confused that who will take the first period, who will take the second period and all. Okay, so this helps us, so this helps the organization in reducing of the overlapping means doing the work again and again. Okay, since since planning ensures the clarity in thought and action, work is being carried out smoothly without any interruptions. Okay, and hence the overlapping or the doing some idiotic works or the red tapeism, it will go very low. Now let's come up to, this was the your third point. Let's come up with the next point. Planning promotes innovative ideas. So with planning, as it is the first function of the management, the new ideas will come up with a proper objective, and hence it is a quite challenging job for the manager, so that their one decision will go on in achieving the objectives. Okay, so as more as the innovative or the experimentation is going on with the manager, the planning may go on with a better result. Okay, now let's come up with the fifth point, planning facilitates decision making. As we have learned in the characteristics that planning helps in taking us the decisions, so I will not explain it once again, it will be a time consuming. Now let's come up to the next point, planning establishes standards for control. So this is quite interesting point. Now see, once I have explained you in the class that planning and controlling, they goes hand in hand. Okay, now see this planning and controlling. So first of all, the planning establishes an standard or a proper goal, then it goes on with the organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. And after controlling, so this controlling is the process where the actual performance will be matched with the goal. Wherever the goals that has been set earlier is exactly matching with the actual performance or not. If there is any diversion, then only another planning will be implemented. Okay, so then the replan will be there, so that the company can reduce the diversion. Once I have given you example that I'm expecting 60% on an average from the students, and after the year, after the exam, I will just match that whether the students have reached the 60% or not. If it is a positive deviation, then it is a good, and if it is a negative deviation, then I have to plan for a certain new thing. Okay, so let's end up today. Thank you.